12-year-old Mia was documenting her first school field trip, sending cheerful selfies home every few hours. Her father, David, scrolled through each photo with growing unease. There was something in the backgrounds that didn't belong. He called Mia immediately, his voice urgent and unfamiliar. When her teacher examined the photos and scanned the parking lot, she returned with someone Mia never expected to see there. Mia Foster had been counting down the days for weeks. At 12 years old, this was her first real field trip, an entire day away from home at a nature reserve 2 hours from town. Her parents had concerns. The night before, they sat Mia down. David was clear about expectations. She needed to check in regularly with actual photos so they could see she was safe. The morning arrived with perfect weather. Mia bounced out of bed before her alarm, threw on her hiking boots, and ran to the bus. Her best friend Sophie was already there, saving her a seat. As the bus pulled away, Mia snapped her first selfie, her and Sophie grinning with other students behind them. She sent it to her parents. David received the photo while having his morning coffee. He smiled and showed Karen. Everything looked normal. When they arrived at the nature reserve, the energy shifted. Kids who had been sitting quietly suddenly came alive. Teachers divided them into smaller groups with chaperones. Mia and Sophie ended up with Mrs. Reynolds, a teacher they both liked. Mia took photos constantly. Each photo went straight to her parents. David was having a slower day at work. He found himself checking his phone frequently, waiting for updates. When photos came through, he studied them carefully. He zoomed in on Mia's smiling face, noticed other kids laughing, saw the beautiful scenery. Everything seemed perfect. But then something caught his eye. In one recent photo, there was a figure in the background, a man standing at a distance, partially obscured by trees. David squinted at the screen. The man appeared to be watching the group. David told himself he was being paranoid. Another photo arrived 10 minutes later from a different location. The same figure was there again, still in the background. This time the angle was better. The man was middle-aged, wearing casual hiking clothes and a baseball cap, facing toward where the students were gathered. David's mind started racing. He scrolled back through all of Mia's photos. He was showing up too consistently to be coincidence. David's protective instincts kicked into overdrive. Karen noticed her husband's expression change. She asked what was wrong. David showed her the photos, pointing out the figure. Karen's face went pale. David decided to call Mia directly and assess the situation. Mia's phone rang just as her group was heading back toward the parking area. She answered cheerfully, expecting her dad to ask how the trip was going. Instead, his voice was tense and serious. He asked where she was right now. David's next request surprised her. He needed to speak with Mrs. Reynolds immediately. She found her teacher quickly and handed over the phone, her hands shaking. Mrs. Reynolds listened to David explain what he had noticed in the photos. Her expression shifted to focused attention. She asked Mia to unlock her phone and began scrolling through the images carefully, zooming in on each background. Mrs. Reynolds told David she would investigate immediately. She walked purposefully toward the parking area. Mia stood frozen. Sophie came over and asked what was going on. Mia admitted she had no idea, but her dad had seen something worrying in her photos. Minutes felt like hours. Mrs. Reynolds was talking to someone near the edge of the lot. Then she returned, walking beside a middle-aged man in hiking clothes and a baseball cap. Mia's eyes widened. She recognized him instantly. The man wasn't a stranger at all. He was Sophie's father. Mrs. Reynolds got back on the phone with David and confirmed they had located the person. She explained there was no danger. The man was another parent. David asked to speak with him directly. The teacher handed the phone to Sophie's father, who looked thoroughly embarrassed. Sophie's father admitted he had been following the group all day. This was his daughter's first big trip away from home, and despite knowing she was in good hands, he couldn't shake his worry. His plan was to stay far enough back that Sophie wouldn't spot him, but close enough to make sure everything was going smoothly. Sophie had been mortified when she realized her dad had been shadowing them. Her face had turned bright red as other kids teased her about having the most overprotective father in school. David listened and felt a strange mix of relief and recognition. The threat he had imagined wasn't real, just another father who couldn't quite let go. When Mia finally got her phone back, she looked at Sophie, whose face was still flushed with embarrassment. The other kids were laughing, but not meanly. It was the kind of story that would be retold for years. That evening, Mia sat with her parents and told them the whole story. David listened carefully, his earlier panic completely gone. David admitted something that surprised even himself. He had been ready to panic over the same instinct that drove Sophie's father to spend an entire day secretly hiking behind a school group. The urge to protect, to watch over, to make absolutely sure nothing bad happened. It came from something impossible to logic away. The story spread through the school over the following days. Sophie's father became something of a legend. Some parents admitted they understood completely. Sophie eventually forgave her dad, though she made him promise never to do anything like that again. He agreed. For Mia, the field trip became memorable for unexpected reasons. She had anticipated beautiful views and time with friends, and she got those things. But she also gained insight into something more complex. The invisible threads connecting parents to their children. The fierce, protective love that doesn't fade just because a child grows older. Would you have done the same thing as Sophie's father if it meant knowing your child was safe?